I'm going to call this chapter Revisiting the Mighty Triad. I have done triad videos in the past, but I have noticed lately that a lot of people don't go to the back catalog. They just go to the latest video released. And having been a teacher for so long, I just can't stand the idea that people are watching stuff without knowing the fundamentals. So here we go. So what is a triad and what is an inversion? If you already know this, and if you can play your triads and inversions up and down the fretboard, maybe this isn't for you. Okay, so a triad. Here's a triad. Here's a triad. No, this is a triad. Right? They are triads in the sense that they are just 3-note chords. But the reason I have, for instance, I'm playing six notes here is because the 3 notes, the triad notes, are duplicated. In this case, I have a G, a C, an E, a G, a C, and an E, right? And the same thing with all the names of the common open position chords. They are all just 3-note chords. They're triads. All right, but when we strip the chord down to its essential component parts, in the case of a C major chord, we have a C note, an E note, and a G note. So here we have C, E, and G in this diagram. And we take the bottom note, put it to the top, and now we have an E, G, and a C. This would be called a first inversion because I've taken the root position chord, because we call this a root position because the root is in the lowest voice. It's pinning down. It's the purest of the triads with the root in the bottom. It's the closest to the harmonic overtone series. And then we have the inversion. We just take the bottom note and put it to the top. First inversion, bottom note, put it to the top. Second inversion, bottom note, put it to the top, and back to root position an octave higher. Now, this is just, I realize this, maybe this is just fundamentals for many of you, but and you've maybe already covered this, but I just have to cover it again because it's not a small thing. It is the thing. Now, let's take a look at this in a slightly greater detail. We get the notes of C, E, and G from a C major scale. And so we have the 1, the 3, and the 5. And this is in root position as it's shown here. Now, what happens when we invert them? We just talked about it, but here it is with the letter name C, E, G, E, G, C, G, C, E, and C, E, and G. Now, if I were to play that, remember that each one of these is a complete major chord. Right? You probably have heard piano players play this kind of thing before, as as a matter of practice and study. Guitar players, on the other hand, they tend to look at everything, at the beginning in big pictures, chord diagrams. And this is what we're trying to break down. This is I would call this the next level of understanding chords. And this is when the guitar really begins to make sense and open itself up. Because it is a polyphonic instrument. It's meant to play chordally. All right, so that is, so the chord comes from a scale. The root position has the C in the lowest voice. Then we move that bottom note to the top, bottom note to the top, bottom note to the top. In that case, each one is called an inversion. If we look at the fretboard, C, E, G, and then move this up an octave, E, G, C, move this one, this E up an octave, right? Okay. Technically speaking, you know, you have to, if you're a pick player, you'll have to learn to chop those triads out, okay? But that's another topic. So here we go now, separating things into string sets. Because we have 3 notes to make a full chord, we can separate those chords onto different string sets. So here's one string set, 1, 2, and 3. Here's a C chord in second inversion. And then we take the bottom note, put it to the top. Now we have a root position. And we do the same thing again for first inversion, and the same thing again. And now we have the same chord that we started with, an octave lower. Okay, so that's C major triads on string set 1. Now if I move to the second string sets, same deal. First, I start with the first inversion. All I'm doing in each case is taking the bottom note and putting it to the top. Bottom note, put it to the top. Bottom note, put it to the top. Now, that's 2 string sets, but we can combine those string sets as well. So for instance, we could do this. And move to the next string set. Or we could move up further. And so on. So we start building different pathways up and down the fretboard. Remember, again, that these scales came from the C major scale, right? These chords came from the C major scale, these triads, right? Now, what if we were to reinsert the C major scale? So you should just be aware of where these scales are. Scale, scale, right? Scale, and scale. You get the idea. So I'm aware of the scales that are underneath each of the chords, and that would be this book doesn't discuss scales, but you should be aware of where the scales are, and that the chords are being produced out of the scale notes. So in other words, the 1, the 3, and the 5. Okay. Next string set, C, E, G. Moving up, moving up, and moving up. There's a little more like a baritone voicings down here. And the same thing holds true. See, I can do this. Each one of these is a full chord, and now down to the bottom. G, C, E, C, E, G. These are thick down here. And then G, C, E. same thing holds true. All right. So, just to recap, what we've got are triads. Triads are like the chords that we play in open position. Each of those chords was a 3-note chord. But when we pull out duplications of the notes, we end up with true triads, just 3-note chords. Because they're 3-note chords, we can play those 3-note chords in on string sets, right? Because each of the string sets is three strings, or one string for each note. Okay, and then we have how many string sets? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 4, 5, and 4, 5, 6. Now the same thing is going to apply to every chord, not just a C chord, obviously, but every triad. So, and remember that we got these triads, the notes of these chords, these C chords, from the C major scale. And the same will hold true, let's say, for the 4 chord. The 4 chord is F. And so to derive the 4 chord, we start on the 4th degree of the scale, being why it's called a 4 chord. C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we take a note, skip a note, take a note, skip a note, take a note, as we did with the C major chord, and now we have an F, an A, and a C. F, A, C, A, C, F, C, F, A, F, A, C. We're inverting by taking the bottom note, putting it to the top, bottom note, putting it to the top, bottom note, putting it to the top. And so now we have, for instance, well, in this case, what we have here is F, F, A, C, A, C, F, and then, right, and then back down. Now we can begin to do chord progressions. Like let's say we take the C, to the F. You'll notice that the C is in common between both those chords. And we can do the same thing on each string set. And we can move through the sets. Let's say C, F, inversion. C, F, C, C, F, C, C, F, C, C, F, C, and so on, and so on, and so on. So this is just a reintroduction to triads, because I can't emphasize enough how important triads are. Every player who has done any playing at all at any sort of professional level will know their triads and understand their triads. I'm not talking about reading music and knowing theory and all that stuff. Well, did Jimi Hendrix know his triads? Yes, he did. Man, did he ever. And I think he just understood them somehow intuitively. He used to play for a a soul trio. You cannot possibly play in a soul trio without knowing your triads upside down and backwards. And every jazz player on the planet will know and understand, or should, I would assume, understand their triads. So triads are, that was a little bit of a sales pitch. Any great telly player should know his triads, like Nashville telly player. And check out Chet Atkins, for instance, in terms of his playing and all of the chord melodies and how clear he is in his understanding of the fretboard, in all over the fretboard, and how much he plays triads, right? Sometimes it's difficult to see them when players are playing big rhythm type chords like that. But I can assure you that they can visualize where those here. There's a song. This whole tune is like. Those are all triads, right? So yeah, okay, a little bit of a triad sales pitch. Work on your triads. If you have a regular practice program, stuff triads in your regular practice program as a completely separate thing that you do. If you don't have a practice program, start one. Organize your practice time. That is if you want to progress. If you want to noodle, you can noodle your life away, and that's cool. Okay, that's it for a reintroduction, revisiting the mighty triad, and I'm going to do a few more of these and move along a little bit with triads into other chord types. Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for dropping by, and I hope that was a help to you. See you real soon.